how your kid can learn about golf and some frustration over Lake Mitchell draining delays. Plus, we're seeing a new site plan for the proposed men's prison in South Dakota. This is Inside the Newsroom, and I'm your host, Maddie Paul. Inside the Newsroom, we bring you the trending stories of the KELOLAND area, and we bring in our newsroom staff members to talk about these stories that you see every day on our newscasts and online at KELOLAND.com. To start off, you heard a little tease about what will be coming through for this entire show, but let's start off because for the first time, we are seeing a site plan for the proposed new men's prison in Northeast Sioux Falls. So Dan Santella took a look over what this looks like, and he shows us what lawmakers will soon consider at their upcoming special session.
The members of South Dakota's House and Senate are scheduled to soon vote on buying this land and building a new prison here along Benson Road in Northeast Sioux Falls. And today, taxpayers now have a site plan for the proposed facility. It has 4 housing buildings, shown here in red. The $650 million project, with about 1,500 beds, is intended to last 100 years. The governor's office also released this graphic, which compares South Dakota's plans with those of Nebraska. The Rushmore State's neighbor to the south has agreed on a construction bid for $313 million for a proposed prison. However, according to Roden's office, Nebraska still has to pay for around $195 million in other costs, for a total of roughly $508 million. Per Roden's office, South Dakota's facility will have more beds built to a higher construction standard, as well as more beds with the ability to house medium or maximum security inmates.
The square footage cost on maximum security or medium security, which we're building, is much greater.
Come September 23rd, when legislators gather in Pierre, a fraction will be in focus, 2/3. Since the bill lawmakers will consider spends money, support is needed from at least 24 of 35 senators and 47 of the 70 members of the House.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. There are a few legislators that, for whatever reason, are hell-bent on staying at a no. And nothing we've been able to tell them or information we've been able to provide is going to change that.
Still, the governor says he's, quote, laser focused on success here.
At the end of the day, I have enough faith in our legislators and our legislative process that we'll get this across the finish line. It's too important to not get it across the finish line.
Ending on such a strong quote. Dan Santella joins us now at the digital desk to talk more about this story. Dan, I mean, you've been following this story for a long time now. So what was it like for you to actually look over the site plans?
That, Maddie, was maybe the biggest takeaway from that we had visual on what that new facility could look like. You know, it had kind of been abstract up to that. We knew it was along Benson Road, right? We had seen site plans elsewhere, but this is, first one for that specific spot. And that was really interesting because it crystallizes exactly what lawmakers are going to consider. And we saw in red, though, it was housing units, right, where they're going to be placed. And there was the point of entry, and then the observation tower, and then the great map that our graphics department put together, showing its proximity to the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society, Great Bear, the interstates in Northeast Sioux Falls. So it was a nice way to say, okay, this is where so much attention is going to be focused soon.
Yeah, I'm such a visual person, so having you include all this in the story honestly really helped me retain everything that was going on. And, the comparisons with the Nebraska prison, it just never goes away. But I felt like you incorporated this data all very creatively, and it was just nice to see this comparison that we're seeing and hearing from Roden's office about that, because there always seems like there's some sort of update with what's going on between the Nebraska prison versus the South Dakota prison, right?
And I think the South Dakota governor's office's point was this is apples to oranges, right? They're two different projects with two different price points doing two different things. And the governor's office clearly made a point yesterday to lay that out and delineate those differences. And so I included that in the story. As I was putting the story together, I didn't entirely know that we were going to get that site plan and that imagery coming. And so once that came in, it sort of well, that had to be included as well, because that data and that imagery came in after I had done my interview with the governor. Of course, the interview was still, highly relevant and speaking to the same topic.
And, your headline is very strong. Rodent on prison, some hell-bent on staying at a no. Why'd you choose this?
Because it's all about that. We can talk about, theoretical prison or what could or might or proposed or planned. Those are all just looking ahead to a possibility, right? It's not getting anywhere unless they get 2/3 in both the South and the Senate and the House, because it's an appropriations bill, right? Rules in the legislature say you got to get 2/3 for an appropriations bill. So with 35 members of the Senate, that means you got to get at least 24 there. 70 members of the House, you got to get at least 47. So it's a game of counting, right? Like who you got, who's on the fence, who's already in your camp, who's against you. And this is, from the perspective of hard yes, hard no, or wherever you are on the spectrum. And so clearly those conversations are happening. And the governor told me yesterday that today there are conference calls planned. And the degree to which they can maybe convince or have a conversation with the absolute no's, will be interesting, because it's all going to be about the numbers. Come today's Tuesday, the 9th, 23rd is a special session. Come the special session, we're all going to be looking up at the big board in the House in Pierre and did it get 47, right?
Yeah.
And of course it needs the same percentage in the Senate, but there'll be a moment there, it's going to be interesting in 2 weeks, where it's like, okay, put up the totals, and it's like, do we got it? And we'll see.
Well, you ended your story with Roden saying it's too important to not get across the finish line. As we're talking about, will this really garner all the support that it needs? Dan, is there anything else that you'd like our viewers to know about these new updates?
No, and I encourage you to check out the stories from myself and Bob Mercer and Ray Yost on our website, because we got a lot of links in them, where you can check out stuff. And the actual site plans and additional data, and KELOLAND.com, and all our digital reporters are such aces.
Yeah.
And it's good to check those out too. I know I'm often reading Bob and Ray's stuff.
I love the shout out. Well, thank you, Dan, so much for being here at the Digital Desk. And everyone stick around. We're going to look at some frustration over Lake Mitchell draining delays up next on Inside the Newsroom. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Despite years of voting and a $25 million price tag, Lake Mitchell will not be drained this year. Talking about this story is our digital reporter, Gracie Terrell, who looked into this and got to speak to the mayor of Mitchell. So, Gracie, what needs to happen before the lake is drained, since they're not doing it this year?
Sure. So about 2 weeks ago, they said that the city found out from the South Dakota Department of Ag and Natural Resources that they need to do a study of sorts on the dam there for the lake to kind of check its stability, durability, if there's a flood, how much flood water can that dam take. So before they drain that lake, clean it, and refill it up, they kind of have to go through this study, which is going to push off the whole project by a little bit.
And you were talking to the mayor of Mitchell for this story. So what was his reaction to learning about that?
Yeah, so he was, pretty frustrated. He kind of put a video out last week on social media, kind of explaining things a little bit. And then I, further talked with him yesterday, and he said that, they were frustrated and wish this was something that they kind of knew about beforehand, since the project was supposed to start. They were supposed to start draining that come this fall. It was supposed to be fully drained by about Christmas time in December. So they're going to have to put that off. And, they're not quite sure about the timeline right now, so they're just things are up in the air, and there's some frustration within the city and residents as well.
Wow. So if there isn't really an exact timeline right now, do we know really anything about the next steps other than needing that test for the lake?
Yeah, so right now they are going to be, the city is going to be accepting bids and quotes from different companies who can do that study on the dam. So they're going to be getting kind of that all this week. And then, depending on how quickly they can do that study, the results of that study, if they find that the dam is, not stable, they're going to have to do some repairs to that before, continuing with the project. So it could be delayed, a little bit longer even so.
Because this is a project that has been wanted for a while, especially like that you've heard from the mayor say.
Yeah, I mean, this project has been, a long time coming. There's been some issues with the lake since, we've reported on it back in the 80s of high phosphorus levels and blue algae. So that kind of makes the lake not super fun to be in. So they've had to close it. So this is something that, the people who live around the lake, people in Mitchell, have been, looking forward to and looking for. And they, last year, they voted on about a $25 million bond issue to kind of go forward with this project. So yeah, it's been a lot in the works, and this is just going to another hiccup there that'll push this off a little bit.
It's too bad. But is there anything else that you'd like viewers to know about this story, Gracie?
Oh man, it was pretty straightforward. Just kind of everything is up in the air right now in terms of the timeline for the project, the cost, and everything. So. Keep a lookout. I'm sure we will continue, reporting on that once they get any more information.
Well, Gracie, thank you for coming here and telling us about those details.
Of course.
And everyone stick around, because up next, got to bring on Scott Munt. In fact, I want to hear about the September highs and how they're actually coming down in the KELOLAND area. We'll get those answers next on Inside the Newsroom. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. We're bringing on our meteorologist, Scott Munt, to talk about some September temperatures. Scott, this week is going to get warmer,
Yes.
but you did a story yesterday, and it was talking about, I believe, average temperatures for September and how it's getting lower.
Cooler. Yeah, the climate averages are going down.
Oh, so it's
Okay.
climate average.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what it is. The climate averages are going down. But, for this week, we'll be above average. We'll have temperatures in the 80s. A chance that some of us might touch 90 maybe on Saturday.
Okay.
Okay, we've been watching some of those numbers in the upper 80s to near 90. So numbers will be well above average as we do go through this week. A lot of us probably in the 80s. Rapid City hit 90 yesterday. Yeah. So, it's
Take me to Rapid City.
And it's on the table again later this week in western South Dakota. I think on Thursday we have 90, our forecast high in Rapid City.
Okay. Rain?
So take whatever rain you got this morning, because, as warm as it gets, takes a lot of that moisture out rather quickly. So be thankful for any of that rain that you received. And I know we had some heavy amounts of at least a half to a full inch or more. A lot of that was showing up to the south and east of Sioux Falls in the southwestern Minnesota, northwestern Iowa, and a couple of areas in extreme southeastern South Dakota had a half inch to maybe a full inch.
Is this what you talk about on Whether or Not with Brian Carstens today?
A little bit. We just talked about that for just a little bit. Something that we've been talking more about is the extended forecast. We have one computer model, maybe a couple of computer models that go beyond a month when you look at the extended forecast. Well, you go on beyond a month, we're in October. That's what I consider, the beginning of our snow season. Right?
Scary
so
words.
over the past, I would say, dating back to maybe the last couple of days of August, we've been ending the show talking about snow. Which doesn't match your necklace this time, does it?
I purposely changed it today so that you wouldn't bring up snow.
Nope,
We
too
could
bad.
talk about
That's what I
nice
do.
things and
That's
good
what I
things
like.
instead. I could take the rain, but the snow, I don't
Not
know.
this week.
Not this week, no.
Okay.
But, this weekend, this week you've been painting your house, so you need good weather for that.
Right.
And then this weekend you got
that will
softball.
Continue.
Playing outside
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in the heat.
in the heat.
You
lucky
wouldn't think in the middle of September that, you'll have some heat, but we will. 80s, 90s.
Feeling good for you. That's great. I'll be inside probably because now that I'm a football pro.
Oh, you are.
No.
And we're,
I
a
should
week
change.
into the NFL and
Week one just wrapped
2 or
up.
3 weeks in the college.
Okay, see, college is a different ballpark. I did
Okay.
watch the last South Dakota Jacks game. Oops, I hit my microphone. Watch that, and then they did like double overtime or something like that. And I was like, what
Okay.
is this? And I was like,
I don't have time for this overtime stuff.
Yeah, no. One step at a time. And my one step right now is understanding my fantasy team. So I
Okay.
want to bring this to the attention of everyone with Inside the Newsroom, and I'm using you as my vessel for this, right? So I'm going to show.
I don't know if that's a good idea,
It's a great idea.
I enjoy
this is the
watching
best idea.
football.
Okay.
but fantasy stuff I haven't done.
Okay. By the way, the reason why this screen is up is because I'm preparing to show my fantasy team right now. So this is a little behind the scene action going on. And boom, welcome to Maddie's fantasy team. So I did learn that week 1 is over. And it ended yesterday.
Ended last night.
Now, my team looks a little different than what it did at the end of week 1.
Yeah, I was looking at this list, and I'm like, you must like players named Josh.
Oh, my. I do. There's a lot of J names, actually. That should be a story. How many J names are in
Now, did
football?
you draft on name or did you draft on cuteness?
I wanted to draft on name. This is for
But you
people who
didn't.
don't. No, I didn't because I did want Justin Jefferson. And I was the 8th pick in my league. There's 8 players in my league.
Okay.
So I was the 8th pick. So I was the last one. So I didn't get like anybody that I wanted except for Josh Allen I wanted.
That's good.
And that's honestly probably about it. Like he's really the only
And
name I
it
recognize.
looks like
and TJ Hawkinson. I know him.
Xavier Worthy, he quit. That's why there's a Q there. He's done.
Questionable. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
I honestly forgot for a second. Okay, wait, I was explaining.
See, I told you shouldn't have me.
So yeah, where's Jordan? Where's Travis? So I had Travis, I see him. But anyway, I had, who was it? I think it was this guy. He's suspended.
Ooh.
And he was on my team last week, so I got 0 point. Yeah, see that big fat 0? That's, yeah, I got that much points from week 1.
So how did you do on week 1? Where do you stand?
I'm 70, here it is. I'm 77.26.
Okay.
That's me.
Out
Don't
of,
worry about that. I have no idea. Is it out of something?
well, yeah, you have 8 teams, I would assume. So where do you stand?
Who cares? Let's go back to what's important, please.
What?
I need help. My lower third up here, everybody. It says help with Maddie's fantasy team because I'm asking everyone. I've already moved the suspended player to the bench. He's out. But now I have this questionable
The guy that quit, Q.
the questionable Xavier Worthy. And I don't know what to do.
So who do you have on your bench?
A bunch of people. And I'm wondering who should I, is it called a trade? No, it's not a trade. I'm not trading anything.
No,
who should I take out of my bench to?
Yeah, who should you start?
If I should replace Xavier Worthy for week 2, everyone help.
So and it's done. Just swap wide receivers, right?
Is that how it works? I don't think. Do I have another?
Yeah, you have Cooper Kupp.
Oh, but he has a Q on him too.
No, that's Matthew Golden. But you got Cooper Kupp there on the bottom.
I think Jordan DeSmit advised me to use Cooper.
Okay.
But is this points high? 9.6?
Yep, that's the points I think he had last week.
Okay. See, everyone, I'm introducing this
I know very
now.
little about this.
No, I'm introducing this now because this is going to be recurring. Okay, everyone's going to join me with my
I
fantasy
gotta do this
team.
every Tuesday.
No, I'll get the sports people on. Okay, this is just how we're introducing it, so that my managers aren't like,
Okay, we'll see.
little hidden action. So I need help. Who should I replace Xavier Worthy with? If I should,
You only have one to pick from, right?
Is that how that works?
Well, you got
Unless you put the other suspended player in.
and then you have another guy that quit or questionable.
Matthew Golden. Yeah, I
So
guess.
you have to go with him, right?
Is that how that works? Guys,
I think that's how that works.
let me know what stats you want to see. My team name is Madden with a question mark.
So you lost last week.
I
Is
did
my
lose.
understanding on what you just showed.
Yeah, but Josh Allen helped me out quite a lot.
But not enough.
Not enough.
So
No, because I had two players who didn't play at all and gave me 0.
Now, is it done based on overall head-to-head standings or is it based on overall points that these players accumulate for the year?
Is it points?
I'm asking you. I don't know.
Okay,
I
inside
haven't
the
done this
newsroom
before.
Tomorrow we are
Travis
bringing
over here.
Travis
You got the
on.
wrong guy up here.
We are bringing Travis on to help me out with this.
I'm asking too many questions. And you came to me for the answers?
I know. I should have.
That didn't work.
Okay, we'll stick with weather next time, Scott.
And we talked a little bit about weather today.
Just a little
We
bit.
did. We were talking about the warm air and the cooling climate average high temperatures.
Well, Scott, thank you for being here for
we're out of time?
We're done with this.
Okay.
We're all done. But we're going to stick on the path of activity for all my Inside the Newsroom viewers because we're actually going to go over to the Sanford International and we're going to see how kids can be a part of golf. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. There is a special group at Sanford International that will be helping kids understand more about the sport of golf. To help us understand, here's Summer Rottershot.
Hanali Barrett has been golfing since she was in 2nd grade.
You get to repeat the same movement and you just have to figure out how to make improvements every single time you hit. So if you don't hit a good shot, then the next time you get to think about and analyze just how you make it better.
Her love for the game grew while working with First Tee South Dakota.
First Tee is a youth development organization that really uses golf as a tool to teach kids life skills, core values, and promote the healthy habits that you would find on a golf course, like walking, eating properly, all of those fun things.
This week, the organization will have a presence at the Sanford International.
Kids can come out anytime during when the tournament's on, and we will introduce them to the game of golf. We have all sorts of fun activities, not just golf related, but other fun activities to keep those kids interested while we have them.
Since each day children under 15 get in free with a ticketed adult, First Tee will be able to help them understand more about the game and about life.
At the same time as teaching them about perseverance, about being honest, because we can't have our eyes on them at all times. It's one of the few sports that, honesty is all about. It is up to those young people to be honest for themselves.
Helping children learn more about the sport that is taking over Sioux Falls this week.
Obviously, an ideal situation would be for someone to make it on tour, but really we're about making players for life. So if we can get someone who just goes out there and enjoys the game, they don't have to be fantastic. They can hit and giggle, they can enjoy their time out there.
It really is such a good activity. It's a sport that you can do for the rest of your life. And it's just so fun. First Tee is such a great organization. They don't just teach you how to golf, they teach you life skills.
Well, I'm inspired. Summer Rodershot joining us at the digital desk to talk more about this really fun story. Summer, what a chance to go out there. Did you have fun on the golf course?
It was really windy, and my bangs do not like the wind, but I always enjoyed it whenever I got to go on the golf course with other people. I don't really have the excuse because I can't golf.
I know we talked about this before, and so that was going to be my next question. Mm-hmm. Did you at least learn how to hold?
I wanted to grab the clubs, but Hanali was much shorter than I am. I'm extremely tall, and she's a seventh grader, so She was using kid clubs, and I was like, I don't think these are going to fit me. Otherwise, I was this close to.
That's a good point, because I was like, "Where's the stand up? Like, where's the stand up of Summer hitting or swinging, doing something that makes sense?" Yep. Kids clubs, but this story was really special, and like learning and hearing about how the sport of golf is just growing in Sioux Falls. One, but then also hearing about the messages that First Tee is trying to implement with children, this honesty factor, that really stuck out with me. What stuck out to you the most, Summer?
Yeah, no, I think it's just like, because obviously they use the sport of golf, but they're like, we want to like develop kids out of this. Obviously we hope they become really good at golf, but it really is just more about the character building part of it. And then yesterday also, and I think it was at the very end when the anchor is talking again, but they did something with 3 different Title I schools, and they had the kids out, and they were just ahead of the Sanford International playing golf with them, just trying to make like a good impact on those kids and, introduce them to the game. It's a lot about, hey, you may not know anything about golf, but like we can try to teach you. So
it's so cool, especially because this is a part of a bigger event, Sanford International. And for someone who may have not heard about Sanford International before, I think it like kind of hits with these types of stories that we do, how big this really expands. And now I'm certain if kids can do it, we can do it, Summer.
I'm putting more money on the kids. I am putting more money on the kids. But, if you are going to the Sanford International and you have a kid or somebody under 15, they can come in free with you. So what a good excuse. And then okay, let them go and see what First Tee is and just introduce them to the game. Because clearly if you're going to the Sanford International, you must care about golf. And maybe, just maybe, you could convince your kid to really fall in love with that also.
Finally, then they could take them out to the golf course too. Yeah. We're wrapping up on time, but I do have one more topic I want to hit with you. Because I showed Scott my fantasy team before you came on, and he was unhelpful, but I want to hear about how was your week one?
I won by the skin of my teeth. By the skin of the teeth, I won, and it was only because I was relying entirely on the Vikings defense, which was a really, really scary. If you know anything,
could go one way or the exact other way.
Trust me, it was either way. But I needed a point and a half before the Vikings defense. But I'm in a league where the defense can give you negative points. Okay. So I was oh no. But how was your week one?
I lost, but I did rack up a lot of points. I don't know. Scott asked me if it's out of a total number of points. Is there a total number number that you're supposed to have?
I don't think so. Like for me, like the points reset each week. So like there's like standings, but it's like even if I won, Travis is looking over at us.
I've already said differently. He's in the corner over there. You know, Travis is coming on tomorrow. He's coming on tomorrow to help me out.
He'll school us. Yeah.
No, exactly. That I did okay for week 1. In fact, I just learned that week 1 wrapped up yesterday.
Yes. So like with the Vikings.
Look at my little baby steps. You know, I'm learning as I go. My first fantasy team, but I'm thinking that this has to be an inside the newsroom thing. Unless someone tells me, stop it. No one cares. Everyone cares. Come on, it's just fantasy. It's
fantasy
fun.
football is pretty intense.
And everyone does it here in the newsroom. So
everybody.
It fits. It fits.
It works.
Well, let's go back to golf. Summer, is there anything else
golfing.
that you'd like our viewers to know about your story, about Sanford International or First Tee?
You know, I just think Sanford International, even though I've never been before, it's just such a huge deal, a huge thing for Sioux Falls. And, you know, like I said, if you're an adult and you're like, oh, my kid might like golf, they might not, they haven't really been introduced besides with me on a course, you know, they're going to have games out there for the kids to play. So like, you know, you're not just putting. You're like trying to play tic-tac-toe. You're trying to play a Sharknado game. I don't really know. They make golfing fun for kids. So if you think they might be interested, it's a good organization to check out.
Summer, thank you so much for all these details and having fun with us right here at the Digital Desk. And everyone, thank you for having fun. Seriously, let me know what I should do about my fantasy team. I'm doing this call out because I just need some help. Again, we're getting Travis tomorrow. That's just happening. And we will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock for Inside the Newsroom. Again, you can watch us at any time too. So if you can't miss it or you're going to miss it at 1 o'clock, no problem. It's on demand. Until next time, have a great night, everyone.